Wormholes, particle physics, extra dimensions. Are the wonders of so-called reality really what they appear to be? Or do we exist in an elaborate hologram? Is our universe the result of random activity or the result of intelligent design? If a creator was involved, can we discover him through our perception of divine order? This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
Life is a box of lasers. You never know when one's going to burn out your eye. Best be careful, huh? Lasers can do that to you. Lasers can do that to you. It's Into the Multiverse. I'm your host, Josh Peck. With me in studio, my lovely, beautiful, still pregnant wife, Christina Peck. Okay, I gave some sage advice there, and you're laughing at it.
Lasers can do that to you.
They can.
Oh, shoot.
You don't believe me?
Oh, I do. After all, we are science geeks.
Yeah.
We know.
You know.
We know.
So how are you?
I'm still pregnant, like you said.
Yeah. And actually,
got
we're
like 4 weeks left, about four and a half, 5-ish.
Yeah, and actually, we'll probably confuse our audience because we're recording some of these programs ahead of time because she's going to have a baby and then have to stay home for a little while. And I don't know when this is going to air. We're just kind of recording it, and we're just going to put it in somewhere one of these weeks. So what it's going to be is some episodes you'll be pregnant, and then automatically when you come back, not pregnant anymore. And
Right.
I guess that's not too confusing, though.
That's all right. I'm not going to be pregnant forever.
Yeah, no, probably not. Probably not. If I had to guess. If I were a betting man. But the topic of today's show is it's interesting enough to where we could actually post this 2 or 3 years from now and it would be fine. Because we're going to be talking about quantum entanglement, which is something that's so interesting and mysterious. And it's in a lot of articles and blog posts and a lot of stuff like that. But unless something drastic changes, within current events or something,
right.
if they just discover how it works someday, chances are not a whole lot is going to change, not right now. I mean, I'm sure eventually people are going to learn more about it and stuff's going to happen, but I think at least right now we're probably safe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that and watch tomorrow or after I edit this episode, a big news story.
Yeah,
We discovered what it is, knowing my luck, but
that's just how it
let's
works.
hope for the stiflement of scientific discovery for our own purposes.
Stop doing your jobs. Just for a minute.
Yeah, come on, physicists. Cut us a break. Anyway, but we are talking about quantum entanglement. That's the topic of today's show, and we have talked about it in other episodes.
Yeah.
But we've never actually devoted a whole show to it.
And this is pretty exciting because we'll get into it, but photons communicating with each other, and it's amazing.
It is. I should give a special thanks. I'm going to go to the long shot here because my camera won't show this, but special thanks to, I'll say an anonymous donor for a new computer, laptop.
A MacBook
Air. So I'm sure some people have noticed that I use an HP most times, but I edit with a Mac, and I've never used a Mac up until moving here to Missouri. And once I started using one, I absolutely love them now, and I prefer those over Windows.
Yes.
So now actually having a MacBook Air to be able to, man, this sounds like a product pitch or something, but and it's not. But actually being able to work, it's nice. So I want to give a thank you to the person who donated this to me, and very thoughtful and nice. So
yes, I agree. Using a Mac is much better than using an HP. I've used HPs pretty much all of my working career, and then moving here and having that office with you, using a MacBook or a Mac for everything else that I do here.
Yeah.
I would never go back to an HP.
Oh yeah, Macs are way better. And interestingly enough, maybe quantum computing will be the next thing, which is actually going to be part of our discussion.
There is actually a reason why we're talking about computers. It's quantum computing.
It fits in.
It fits.
But I guess we could start with what quantum entanglement actually is.
Yes.
Now, what's the best way to start with that? I guess photons.
Those are light particles.
Yeah, the particles of light.
For those of you who do not know what photons are, they are light particles.
Yeah, and that's fine. But Yeah, it's the actual particle of light. They're massless, which that in itself seems weird. How can something exist yet not be made of anything? Like, how could it be totally massless, weightless? But it's actually that quality, quality of the photon that makes it able to travel the speed of light. You know, they call it the speed. It's actually really more accurately could be called the speed of massless particles, because any massless particle would travel at that speed. But photon, light is just the most recognizable particle that does that. So, speed of light.
Speed of light.
That's what they call it.
They call that's the limit. Nothing can go beyond that besides light.
Yeah, that's the absolute speed limit of the universe. As far as we know, nothing can go faster than that, though there have been ideas put forth. Like in the 90s, they talked about a hypothetical particle that would go faster than light called a tachyon, which isn't, as far as we know, it's not a real particle. They just used it as a thought exercise or an example. And they actually figured that if a particle were to go faster than light, it would actually be traveling back in time. And strangely enough, because when I first thought about that, I thought, well, there'd be no way that we could detect it,
Right.
How, if it's going the opposite way in time and we're going forward in time, it seems like there would only be an intersection of, one Planck time. But actually, you would see it. It would still occupy the same space, and it would look normal because just because a particle is traveling backward in time, you don't know based on looking at how a particle is traveling if it's going backwards or not, because they don't have, you can tell if a car is driving backwards because it looks different, it looks ridiculous. But a particle can travel any direction and it's fine, that's what you expect. You would actually have to measure the entropy, which the entropy, that's just a term that describes how something decays or falls apart or how it loses energy, essentially. So you would have to measure the particle's entropy. Basically, it would have to decay into heavier particles.
Yeah.
Then you would know, okay, energy isn't being conserved. You're getting more energy from something of less energy, which is supposed to be impossible.
The reverse entropy.
Yeah, reverse entropy.
We talked about that in a previous episode, as well. Like, how do we know that this desk isn't getting newer?
Yeah, how do we know that this is traveling
at the same time
as we are and not going backward in time or something?
You'd have to sit there and wait for it to fall apart. Really,
yeah, you'd have to measure its entropy. So that's basically, so photons, the light particles, speed of light, that's the limit of the universe, the speed limit of the universe, which, of course, that gets into quantum field theory and, all these things. And but basically how something can be massless and still exist is just really what matter is. Matter is really nothing more than energy.
Right.
Einstein was able to show that with E equals mc squared. That's what that whole equation was all about. It's all it is. All E equals mc squared. It sounds like this super smart, it's a smart discovery, but it's not anything that's beyond our understanding, the general audience. All it is E is energy. So energy equals mass, that's M, times C represents the speed of light, so times the speed of light squared. So it's a conversion rate for energy and matter, essentially, showing that they're really the same thing. It's like if you were to convert centimeters to inches or something.
Yeah, it can be done.
It can be done. And so it's just a conversion rate between those two things. But in all that, quantum entanglement does something that kind of breaks up this whole discussion. It seems like the universe should operate by a set of laws, and in a lot of ways it does. But when you go down to the quantum scale, things start to get fuzzy and fall apart. And quantum entanglement is just one example of many of those. Photons and other entangled particles as well. But if two photons are entangled, they can actually communicate with one another faster than light.
Faster than light. And we are saying that, no, the speed limit of the universe is light and nothing can go beyond it. But photons, the massless photons, it's all instantaneous to them anyway.
Yeah, it's not even faster. I mean, it's faster than light, but it is absolutely instantaneous.
Instantaneous.
No time whatsoever.
And that is why they can communicate with each other.
Yeah,
which I think is fascinating that these things can communicate with each other.
At that instantaneous speed isn't even speed. Using the word speed almost isn't even the right word, because saying speed seems to communicate that there's some type of time passing, but there's not.
There's no time passing whatsoever.
Meaning essentially whatever happens within one Planck time, which is insane to think about, but that's with entangled particles. Not every photon, the photons have to be entangled. But they did tests on this where you could, theoretically, you could have one photon at one end of the observable universe and another photon at the other end, and still no time would pass. They've done actual tests in the laboratory, obviously not to those distances, but distances that are long enough where if there was some type of measurable time, they would be able to detect it. I mean, even photons from the sun to the Earth takes 8 minutes to get here. So the Earth is big enough to where they can do tests where if some time was passing, they would be able to at least tell.
Yeah.
But it's completely instantaneous.
Yep.
So the question comes up, how could this be possible? And that is the question that we will attempt to answer when we come back right after this.
Can you sing the blues with a heart full of joy? The answer is yes, because as you may know all too well, sometimes the joy that comes from accepting Jesus Christ only follows after you've been broken for good. Skywatch TV is proud to present the new CD by Joe Horn and Broken for Good, Right Where You Stand, featuring the dynamite lead track, Johnny. When you order this CD from the Skywatch TV store, you'll also receive the special Johnny Project DVD featuring a special one-on-one message of salvation and redemption from Pastor Bruce Beelan, who played the Johnny character in the Johnny video, as well as special commentary from writer-producer Joe Artis Horn and special Skywatch TV world premiere countdown programs that led up to the world premiere of the video of Johnny. You'll also receive the books Redeemed Unredeemable by Donna Howell of Broken for Good and John McTernan's When Jesus Sets You Free, You Are Free Indeed. 2 books that demonstrate that the love of God is never so far away that He can't find you right where you stand. You'll also get the acoustic instrumental album from Broken for Good's Stan Williams, featuring Celtic acoustic originals like Finger Dance, Celtic Walk, historical hymns like I Surrender All, and many more. Right Where You Stand by Joe Horn and Broken for Good is gutsy, full of passionate songs of faith and redemption like Talk to Jesus,
And talk to Jesus. And talk to
Begin Again,
to begin again.
Come All My Children,
Come on, my children.
Right Light,
The right light
and many more.
is gonna set me free.
All of this together is a $75 value, but it's yours now for just $29.95 when you order the Joe Horn and Broken for Good CD Right Where You Stand from the Skywatch TV store. Order now by calling the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com.
All right, welcome back. Well, we have got to move it along because we are running low on time already. But we left on the question, how could this be possible? How can photons communicate at faster than light speeds like that and still fall within the realm of physical laws and things like that? So we talked about the possibility that extra dimensions might be utilized here.
Yeah. We can give a great example about flatland once again. Particles
Right.
in flatland.
Right. So the whole particle flatland example, imagine if, now we've talked about flatland a lot in this show, but in case you're new or if this is your first time, flatland is a hypothetical, it's a thought exercise. It's basically just a hypothetical universe, and it doesn't have to be very big. It could be the size of your tabletop, but it's just a two-dimensional universe. So they have left, right, forward, backward, but no up or down. The inhabitants of flatland are called flatlanders, and they're just two-dimensional. So they have no concept of up or down. Now imagine if a flatlander physicist wanted to study what physical existence in his universe was made of. He could build some kind of contraption to look at particles, but what would a particle look like to a flatlander?
Yeah.
And this is a really cool thought, because it would look like a little circle. Because for us, they're spheres, but the cross section of a sphere is a circle. So to a flatlander, they would just see like little circles. And interestingly enough, as particles move in and out of flatland, to them, it would look like these particles are popping in and out of existence. So the idea is, well, you add one dimension for our experience, a three-dimensional experience. Strangely enough, particles are spheres, and particles do pop in and out of existence.
Yeah.
It's the same as what the flatlander would. So are we actually the flatlanders here? Are we observing what we think are three-dimensional particles, but really maybe
higher.
they're four-dimensional or five-dimensional or 12-dimensional? Is that what we're seeing? And when particles actually pop in and out of existence, are they actually maybe just going into other dimensions, in and out? We don't know. But that might be how quantum entanglement works. Imagine, here's another, this is the two fingers in flatland thought exercise. Imagine if I were to take two fingers and put them into flatland and move them around. To a flatlander, seeing those two fingers, he would just see two circles, but he wouldn't know that they were connected to anything. They would look like they were moving independently. Now imagine that on a larger, a quantum scale, but in many more, more multiples. So you have two particles that look independent of each other, say photons. They look like they're independent of one another, yet somehow they're receiving information, or they're able to communicate at they're faster than light speeds. Now, it would be like if, I don't know, if I hurt my hand, or if something in the nerves like happened on both my fingers at the same time, and flatlanders were able to observe that, they might see that as my two fingers, or these two weird circles, as communicating at faster than light speeds, instantaneously, when really they're both just receiving information at the same time. What if that's what we're dealing with?
That would be fascinating.
Yeah. What if photons and a lot of other particles are just sort of subsets of a larger
thing?
Yeah.
A larger. It makes perfect sense. Going back, to understand that, just going down a dimension.
Yeah. Flatland helps so much with this stuff.
It really does, because now it's like, well, I can actually wrap my head around that, particle physics and things like that. Maybe it's just one thing that's connected to a much bigger thing.
Yeah. So they might be utilizing extra dimensions or higher dimensions to communicate in that way. Now, interestingly enough, quantum computers, another topic that we've talked about on this show before, quantum computers, some designs of certain quantum computers utilize or want to utilize quantum entanglement for their processing speed and things like that. If you think about a computer now, to us, computers, at least most of them, especially if you have a Mac, they can communicate with each other pretty fast.
Yeah.
But imagine if it was instantaneous. Imagine if they, with everything they did, it was at instantaneous speeds, and how much processing power that would be on the world. And that's not all that quantum computers can do. That's one avenue of it. But the problem is, or the potential problem, is you have to utilize extra dimensions for that to work.
Yes.
Now, is that a good thing?
Or is it not a good thing? Exactly. We've talked about before, CERN wanting to communicate with higher dimensions and using weird telescopes and devices and
gravity,
to do that. So is that the real reason why they want to do these quantum computing things?
Yeah, who knows?
Communication.
But just the idea of sending information through a higher dimension without having any real knowledge of what that means. Having no one can even visualize what a very simple four-dimensional object would look like, like a hypercube or a hypersphere or something. No one can visualize that. We have no way, even if we were able to peer into say, the next spatial dimension up, the fourth dimension, we couldn't process what we were seeing. It would look three-dimensional to us, but things would be changing shape and changing color, and it'd be a lot of weird movement, and it'd probably make us car sick or something. So we can't even imagine what one higher dimension would be like. But imagine if entanglement utilizes more than one or utilizes multiple higher dimensions to operate. We have no idea what we're sending our information into.
Right, exactly.
So, and of course, the question comes up, if there are entities or intelligences in those higher dimensions, would they consider that as communication to them? Or how could, what could come from that? So, there are reasons to at least keep our eye on this, especially because, and I actually just wrote an article for Skywatch Magazine, which if you're not subscribed to Skywatch Magazine, you should. You can do that at skywatchtvstore.com. But I recently wrote an article about how I believe quantum computing has the potential to be the next internet. We're old enough now that we can remember what the world was like before the internet and how drastically different it is now in such a short amount of time.
Oh yeah, from dial-up to DSL to now Wi-Fi.
Yeah, from encyclopedias to Wikipedia,
Yeah.
or from rotary telephones to cell phones that do everything.
Yeah.
And you barely even use them to make calls anymore.
No,
It's
just the phone.
It's a seldom used app on my phone. Yeah.
The phone is a seldom used app on my phone.
Exactly, and that's what it's become. And it's crazy to think that this much change all across the world has happened in such a short amount of time. Because I'm still young. I'm in my early 30s, and I can still easily remember a time when there was no internet and there was none of this stuff.
I remember, I was 12 years old when we finally got a computer.
Yeah.
It was a compact, and we had dial-up internet that was from, I don't know, some sort of weird company.
AOL or Netscape or something.
Yeah, something weird like that. And I would, if even in the off chance somebody was calling in, I could disconnect my internet connection.
Oh yeah, you couldn't make a phone call and be on the internet at the same time.
It would come up busy.
Yep.
If you tried to call somebody.
If there were too many people in the world on the internet, you wouldn't be able to get on.
Yeah.
It was
Or in the same area.
Yeah, and I was still in school when all that was going on. I was in middle school, so it wasn't really that long ago. But quantum computing has the potential to not only drastically change the world again, but much faster and much more drastic than the internet did. Now, I don't know for sure if it's going to play out that way. There might be some other big thing that's going to be the next big thing. But I think right now, quantum computing has the most potential, and I think we're the closest to that than with anything else. And with that comes all sorts of things like artificial intelligence and being able to measure and map out extra dimensions.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. That will lead to more AI and
computers that can actually really think and not just kind of mimic thinking, like sort of what they're doing now, like that.
Like chess games and things. What was that movie? There was a movie.
Which one?
I don't know. Matthew Broderick, I think, was in it, and he was a young kid. I think he
played chess or something?
Obviously he played chess, but he built this computer, and he was able to get into like the Russian or United States.
Was it called Matthew Broderick Hacks the Russians, the movie?
Yeah, probably it.
Matthew Broderick plays chess.
It was 1983 when
that
it
sort
came
of sounds,
out.
That sort of sounds familiar, but I don't remember for sure. But even back then, though, even back in the 80s, they were thinking about stuff like this. So it's becoming realized now. And it's just weird to think about. We only have a couple minutes left, but people might be wondering, why should Christians care? Well, this is the world that we're leaving for our kids. And also...
everybody should care what we're leaving for our children.
Exactly. Well, that, and we owe it to our children to be able to teach them how to draw the line, like what is acceptable and what isn't.
Going too far.
I'm not the kind of person that demonizes a whole thing because of one subset of it, Like, I can't say all quantum computing is bad and evil and we shouldn't be doing it.
Well, not all medicine is bad and evil either.
Well, exactly, but some of it can kill you.
Exactly.
So, there are a lot of different things to think about, but if it is the type of quantum computer, and there's different designs and different ideas on how to make this thing work, but if it is the type of quantum computer that utilizes higher dimensions to operate, personally, I would say best not to deal with it. We just don't know enough about it. And to me, that's just too close to trying to get into the enemy's territory and stuff. But that's me personally. I mean, I don't know what the Christian church of the future is going to look at. I mean, I can imagine that maybe in the 70s or 80s, the thought of the internet and everybody being connected may have scared Christians into thinking it was a modern Babel or something. Yeah. Because we can communicate with other countries totally fine. The language barrier is nil, and it doesn't matter. But we've been able to use that to, Christians have been able to use that to evangelize and spread the word. So there are good things that have come from that. There's also a lot of bad things.
Good and evil.
So I don't know if quantum computing is a thing like that, where there could be good things that come out of it and there might be bad things. I don't know, but it's definitely something that we should be talking about and thinking about now, and even discussing with our children, because they're going to be the ones that are going to have to
deal with this.
Yeah. So, wow, we got a minute and a half left. Interesting talk. But I do want to bring up, while there's time, the products that Skywatch TV has. If you enjoy our show and this type of conversation, first, I've mentioned this before on the show. There is, and Skywatch TV still does have this, my book deal where you can get both books, Quantum Creation and Cherubim Chariots, for only $29.95, which is a $40 value. So if you're going to get them, I mean, you may as well get them from skywatchtv store.com. You're not going to find a better deal. But this explains a lot of the types of topics that we're talking about here. Quantum Creation is basically the basics of quantum science and things like that for the layman. Cherubim Chariots is more on the UFO phenomenon and how extra dimensions most likely play a part there. But we do have a couple new things. And at the time of this recording, there's not a specific package that has everything, but possibly by the time that this airs, there might be. So check skywatchtvstore.com for more information. But we do have the best of Into the Multiverse, and this, of course, is with Christina and I. Volume 1, Best of 2016, and then we also have The Coming Technocalypse. This is a 5.5 long radio interview that I did with Doug and Joe Hagman, where we all pooled our resources together and decided to look at the future of technology and how it might play a part prophetically. So it's really important information, and it explains it in enough time where I was able to give enough detail for the layman audience, for my audience, for our audience. So if you're interested, check that out. We are completely out of time. Quickly, where can people find us online?
Okay, we're a YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/Into the Multiverse. Or you can check us out on Roku. We're on the Skywatch TV channel. And or you can go to skywatchtv.com and scroll down. There will be a picture of Josh and I. You can click on that, and that will take you straight to our YouTube channel.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great show, as always, with you and Into the Multiverse.
Quantum computing.
Quantum computing, quantum entanglement. Very interesting. Stay tuned to future episodes of Into the Multiverse. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care and God bless.